So, Connecticut's got a new housing law, Public Act 25-1. And yeah, it's a statewide framework, but here's the thing. All the real power to implement it, that's right, in your hands, at the local level. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how to use that power, your town's home rule authority, to your advantage.
Right. A new state law. So what's your move? This law, and the housing targets that are coming with it, have pretty much every municipal leader asking the same questions. What are our options, really? And what are our obligations? Let's get you some clear answers.
All right, first things first, let's unpack how this whole thing is structured. This is not some top-down mandate from the state. Instead, you should think of it more like a three-way partnership, with very specific roles for the state, for the region, and, most importantly, for your town.
Now, what's really interesting here is how cleanly the work is divided up. You see, way up at the top, the state comes up with the methodology, the formula, for figuring out housing growth. Then, your Regional Council of Governments takes that formula and assigns specific housing targets to each town. And that brings us down to the most critical level, you, the town. Your job is to decide how to meet that target. You can either create your very own plan or you can opt into a regional one.
Okay, let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room, local control. I know there's a lot of concern out there about this, but the new law has a built-in safeguard for your town's authority, and it is absolutely essential to understand how it works.
And look, this isn't just my take on it. It's spelled out, black and white, right in the Act itself. Your constitutional authority to govern land use, it's untouched. Public hearings, local regulations, board decisions, all the tools you've always had are still yours to use.
Let me just say that again, as simply as it's written right here. Your authority remains local. The state is not taking over your planning and zoning commission. The power to shape your community is still 100% in your hands.
Okay, so you have the authority, but how do you actually use it inside this new framework? Well, it's a 5-phase process, a really clear, step-by-step guide from preparation all the way to implementation. Let's walk through it. You can see the whole journey right here. It's a really logical flow, isn't it? It all starts with doing your homework. Then it moves to a huge decision point. Then you get into the actual planning. That's followed by a state review. And finally, you put your plan into action. Phase 1 is all about getting your house in order before you even get your housing goal. This is where you ground every future decision in cold, hard facts. You're going to review your existing plans, take a hard look at your current zoning, and analyze real-world constraints like infrastructure and environmental protections. Why is this so important? Because all this homework, that becomes the rock-solid, legally defensible foundation for every single choice you make down the line.
The moment your town receives its housing goal from the region, a clock starts ticking. You have just 30 days to make one of the most important decisions in this entire process. It is a tight window, which is exactly why that early prep work we just talked about is so absolutely critical.
And here it is, that critical choice. It's a fork in the road. On one side, you can develop a totally unique housing growth plan, completely tailored to your town's specific needs and conditions. Or you can choose to adopt the framework that your regional council provides. There's no single right answer here. The key is that this is your choice to make, on the public record, based on all that local research you did.
Now, no matter which path you take, the real work, the nitty-gritty, happens at the local level. Your planning commission, your zoning regulations, your public hearings, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you decide exactly how and where housing growth will happen in your community using tools like overlay districts or other tailored standards. So once your plan is developed and you've adopted it locally, it gets submitted to the state's Office of Policy and Management, or OPM. They get a 120-day window to look it over, but their job isn't to rewrite your plan or second-guess your local decisions. They're basically just checking to make sure it meets all the requirements of the Act.
And that brings us to the final phase, implementation. Once your plan gets the green light from the state, the ball is right back in your court. You put it into action through your own local ordinances and procedures. You'll still apply all your normal zoning, wetlands, and health reviews, and you'll just need to submit annual reports to track how it's going.
Now, I want to shift gears for a second to something that underpins this entire process, and it is absolutely fundamentally critical for protecting your local authority, and that's documentation. You see, making good, defensible decisions is one thing. Proving you made them is another thing entirely.
So here's the key. You have to build a comprehensive municipal record. That means everything. Studies, maps, every public comment, detailed meeting minutes, and maybe most importantly, clear written findings that explain why you made the decisions you did. This record, this is your town's best defense.
It's the ultimate proof of a thoughtful, locally driven process.
So, after walking through the framework in all 5 phases, what's the bottom line here? Well, it all comes down to a really simple but incredibly powerful idea.
Your town's fundamental authority, your home rule, is absolutely preserved under this new law.
But it's preserved through active use. You see, authority isn't some trophy you just put on a shelf. It's a muscle. And you maintain it by exercising it, by running a transparent public process, by grounding your decisions in local data, and by keeping a meticulous record. That is how you demonstrate and preserve your local control.
And that leaves us with the final question, which, isn't for me to answer. It's for you. The framework is in place. The local authority is protected. The choice is yours. The only question left is, how will your town use it?